Hi everyone, welcome in the Digital Creative Village for a brand new session of BMI Inspires. My name is Demian, I'm your host for today, and I hope you all had a really nice summer break and that you're ready to innovate in the second half of this crazy year. This edition of BMI Inspires, the topic is Accelerate Your Transformation. So we will tell you everything about how to move in the desired direction, there where value is created. And the previous editions of BMI Inspires were a lot about the shifts, about the business model shifts that we see, right? The shift on how you can shift your current business model there to new future value for your customers and your consumers. And we talked about shifts like the move from products to services, or new platform business models, or more circular business models, or more social sustainable ones. So we have the pleasure to work with companies like these to help them on their design journey, to make the shift, to answer that one simple question. And you probably know this question if you attend BMI Inspires regularly. The question we answer is, where is value created? And again, it's really important. It's about future value for your customers, right? Because when you create future value, that's when you stay relevant in the future. And you might think that's about ideating and designing the best single idea ever, the golden egg, that idea that will change everything. Well, we learned in working with clients, like I showed before, that that isn't the case. It's not about that single idea, right? It's not one idea that will make it. Like you cannot place all your money on, place it on one bet. No, what you need to do is to continuously innovate, to create new ideas, right? To test new value propositions with your consumers, to test what they are willing to pay for, and test new business models in the market. Validate your assumptions, see where the value is. And don't do that on one single idea. No, do that on multiple ones. Multiple ideas, multiple value propositions, and multiple new optional business models that you want to test and validate. And then one of these might become your new dominant future business model. And you actually need to do that in a really structured, systematic, and organized way. And we will tell you more about that in this session. Because when you do it like this, then it's certain that you will create future value for your customers and for you as a company. So before we started, we asked you a question about how your company is in transformation. So let's look at the answers. I see already a couple of A's. So some of you are in transformation, and you do it collectively. You collectively move to a desired end state. Well, we would like to hear from you also in the chat later on how you do that, because our experience is that transformation is really, really hard. And that is not that simple as you might think. We see that a lot of companies do it quite ad hoc and not in a systematic or organized way. Or they are falling back to what they know, right? Or find it hard to cope with uncertainty because they stay in their execution mode. We will tell more about that also. But the result of that is that you move way too slow and that you will not transform in time. Okay, so let's continue. Before we continue, this is what we get a lot of questions from organizations we work with. So we work with like innovation leaders for global companies, also on global level, that really find it hard to transform their organization in the desired way. So they ask us, hey, how to get enough and the right relevant innovations in my innovation funnel? What to focus on and what not to focus on? How do I make sure that I deliver on my strategic objectives in the near to further future, right? And how to assess and manage all these innovations in my funnel in an effective way. How to assign resources and funding. What to skill, what to kill, where to pivot, when to persevere. All those questions are really hard for a lot of people that we work with. And also how to ensure that you keep on searching, that you keep on innovating, that you continuously innovate and keep on searching for that future value. And that you prevent from day-to-day execution to take over, because Execution business is always important and always urgent, but if you only focus on that, you know that your current business model has a certain, at one day it will end, you know. So you need to move in time and start searching for new value. And the last one then is how to embed the right mindset, the right skills, the right capabilities for searching, and the right process to do so. How to embed it in your teams, in your organization, in a new way of working, right? And in a new daily business. So these are like some of the key questions that we try to answer when working with our clients. And we do that by pointing them out in the right direction, together with them, of course. Like design a clear strategy on where future value is created. To design new value propositions and business models on which you then can accelerate on, in which you can deliver that value to the market, and also to test, again, what people are willing to pay for, what they need and what they really value, and also what you can scale as a profitable business, right? So that's about accelerating. And the more and more we work with our clients, we see that it's not that single innovation like I mentioned before. No, it's really like organizing your whole organization in the right way. So we call it an innovation blueprint. And then developing a culture of learning, of failing, of trying, of innovating, right? And we call that the innovation DNA. And here within Business Models Inc., we luckily have Niek, who is like one of the key thought leaders on this topic of innovation transformation. And he developed like the frameworks and the approach of applying this in your organization, and he collaborates with companies like T-Mobile and IKEA to do so. And today he will share his point of view with you on what he sees, what works, and what are approaches that you can learn from and you can apply in your organization to make the transformation to future value for your company, right? And he will share some stories about his experiences with working with these companies. So which might inspire you, which might give you new insights, which you can apply again to make your transformation. Because that's the goal we have for this session, to get you moving and to get you in transformation. Of course, BMI Inspires is about interaction. We're also very keen to know more about your best practices, about your learnings, and of course are very willing to answer your questions about transformation and innovation. But first, I will give it up to Niek to share his experiences, and we close off with a Q&A. You can submit all your questions, but also your insights in the chat. We will answer the key questions at the end of the session. But for now, let's hear it from Niek. I hope you are ready to deep dive in the world of transformation. So here we go.
Let's go. Thanks, Demian. And good that you're all here. We only have like 20, 30 minutes before we will start the Q&A, so please don't expect a complete how-to. But we do like to focus with you guys on how innovation in particular can accelerate your transformation. And I'm happy to see that I think about 65% of the answers that were already given that you guys are in a collective transformation already. So I hope to be telling you guys something new, and please contribute to the conversation via the chat. So today we want to talk about 3 key design principles for your transformation and for your digital transformation or for your circular transformation. Any transformation basically that you're after. And these are them. So of course, any transformation starts with your current point and you go to some desired state. People need to understand what's happening. That's the brain. And you need to create a system for that transformation. And then obviously it's all about people, and they're the driver of your transformation. But let's start with the first one, getting from A to B, because that's really one of the most essential things to get right at the start. So transform with a point of view, with a really clear point B in your head. And as Demian already said, point B is all about creating new and more value for your customer, right? Or organize yourself in a different way to be creating new and more value for your customer. And basically the essence of transformation is morphing from one state into a desired state, right? So you're here at point A and you want to be there, you want to be the Schwarzenegger for your customer. And it's really important to get this right? This picture of point B. If you don't, and or if people don't understand what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to get to, you get one out of 3 different reactions. So one is people can freeze. Oh my God, this is happening. It's a change. People don't like change. Most people don't like change. People might not know where to start, what to do, what the future is about. And in reaction, they freeze. They don't do anything. The second one is, well, yes, heard that before, and not sure what it means this time. So whatever, I'll just continue with my job and see what happens, right? And then people get indifferent. They like step back and just let it go. And then there's people that that are kind of like the rebels or a driving force in your organization. And if they don't understand what you're getting to, they interpret it in their own way because they want to move forward, right? So rather than becoming the Schwarzenegger of an organization that your company wants to be, you get all different impersonations of it. And although like the rebels in your organization are the change makers, you need to direct them as well in the right direction, otherwise you'll harm the system. So how to get there, how to create a clear B. If you're familiar with us and our way of working, you know we have all kinds of tools for that, the 5-bolt steps canvas, cover story canvas, but also entire strategic journeys we can undertake. And often these are the questions that are most important, most strategic, most difficult to answer. So what does it look like? And then can you paint the picture as clear as you can? And not only in words, but also in visuals, in different kinds of ways that different kind of people can understand. And also, what value does that bring, that new state? Can you make that tangible? What do you want from us as co-workers, as employees? What should we do? What behavior do you like to see? Also, how is this different from the current situation?
So, I like that you pointed out like this indeed. Sorry to interrupt, you can conclude. But if you show it like this, what you often see in the bigger organizations is that they have a vision or a mission statement on their website, right? So this is clear. And consumers or sorry, the employees, they also understand like, okay, these are the objectives that we want to realize. But this lower part, like, what does it mean for me and what do I need to do different to get there? That's quite vague or ambiguous, right? Because there are big organizations and they have their own department. Can you share an example of an organization, a big organization that does this in a good way, that really aligns people around the shared vision?
Yeah. So, and basically, to just get the last slide out of the way. So the upper part is indeed like the system, as you mentioned, and the lower part is the people, right? And in the end, like the journey should be creating for both the system and people a concrete and clear shared future state. Otherwise, you'll get in different directions and recalibrate with learnings, because at point A, you never guess the future right? And one of the most interesting examples we we're working with at this moment is with IKEA. And I think 2 months ago, we had someone from IKEA here in the Inspires as well.
Yeah.
And she was from sustainability. And within sustainability, they have a very clear goal. So they're kind of in the circular shift, as we call it. They want to be climate positive throughout the entire value chain by 2030. Climate positive by 2030. And so that's a bold statement, and that's amazing. They've chopped it up in 3 separate buckets. So healthy, sustainable living, circular, climate positive, fair and equal. So these 3 aspects are there. And that's on the system level, right? That's on the upper part. Yeah. So what does it look like? And they've put metrics behind it. They've put clear statements behind it for each part of the value chain. What they're also doing, and that's more on the human side, is, okay, so what workforce do we have at this moment? What do they feel about this? Who should we hire? So yes, we should have circular and sustainable capabilities, but we should also let the people believe in this goal. So it's not just like fairy tale or something to adhere to. So everyone within the IKEA sustainability and within the entire IKEA organization is very much purpose-driven towards this goal. You can feel it, you can sense it, and not only the people, all their processes internally, but also towards customers. It's all about sustainability.
Yeah. Even like rewarding the right behavior, that it's already clear, like when do I do?
Yeah, super clear goals, and that's on this part, right? On the metrics, and whenever you get a step further, and even if it's printing less in the office, whatever, even if it's working more digitally, they continuously coach, correct each other in the right way.
Yeah,
so that's really cool to see.
Nice. Yeah, I put in a picture of a puzzle, and you might think, hey, why did I do that? Right. But you talked about this visualizing your vision in a visual story, so that your vision is not ending up in the drawer, but that you literally can put it on the wall and every day reflect to it, right? So what are my main strategic pillars? What are the bigger themes? So you can make day-to-day choices and align it with the bigger vision that you want to realize, right? So this company that we work with, they also want to activate that strategic vision. And we visualized the vision in a really like visual story, super rich, in a really nice way. And they printed it in a huge format and hung it up in the canteen and in the corridors. And they even printed it on the water bottles they had at the office. And what they also did, they made a puzzle out of it. So, and it was really inspiring for me. So instead of top management saying, hey, this is our vision, this is the story, and this is our way to the future. No, they said they made a puzzle out of the visual story. They organized like this in-company team event where different groups of people laid the puzzle together and gave meaning to the visual story they puzzled with, right?
Yeah.
And that way they saw, okay, hey, this theme, for me, it means this. Oh, for me, it means this. Oh, and then there was a lot of like cohesion and what you say, shared language also, but shared purpose, and that you understood each other.
Yeah.
And that was really nice. And they even made little puzzles out of it and sent it to the people's home, so they could do it with their family and explain their children about where the company is headed and why it's important that they are there. So I really think that is a really creative and inspiring way of activating such a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And what one of the comments also was in the chat here. It's a continuous thing, the transformation. This as well is a continuous thing. So it's not like, okay, I create a puzzle or I create this vision statement of sustainability and that's it. Now everybody understands and know about it. It's really over the years, repeat, create examples, and also leadership, like behave like you want the people to behave. Right.
Really internalize first. And then,
Exactly. Cool. So let's move on to the second one. And Second one, relatively short one. The third one is a little bit more extensive, is about these people. So internalizing and understanding what point B is. And within each organization, we have to dissect a little bit here. We see a search component, we see an execution component, right? And the execution component, that's basically you live within a business model that has proven itself. You know, if I put €1 in, you get €2 out. It's very known. It's very portfolio management driven. And it's all about growing and maintaining the business in which you are. Because as Demian already pointed out, every business model has an expiry date and they're shorter and shorter, right? So you need the search component on your organization as well, which is unknown because you're in innovation. You don't know if I put €1 in, if it becomes €10 or if it's just down the drain and you get learnings from it, right? And so it's very, in our experience, not portfolio driven yet, because it's about future. And the discipline of portfolio management hasn't really ingrained into innovation yet. And it's more about exploration and validation. So what you see is that these two parts of the organization also comprises of two types of people. Some people thrive in this execution side, and some people have skills and the mindset of this designer, of search, of exploration. And that's really, really good to take into account and to in a transformation, because you need both, right? And both are after the same goals. So taking the example of IKEA, in sustainability, you can already do a lot within your current business model. But you can do even more if you innovate and you create new business models and new ways of earning money, running your business, but in a sensible way, right? So really different skills and mindsets. And also on leadership, like leaders in execution, really different skills and mindset than leaders in search. And while we sometimes see that leaders from execution, successful leaders from execution, are put into search to manage that, they have some leaps to make, right, in terms of their behavior and how they assess innovation. Their job is to provide space and a common direction for this innovation portfolio, which goes all over the place because it's innovation. Moreover, the two sides need each other, right? So search can never be successful if execution doesn't adopt solutions from the search side. So you need, you often see those kind of conflicting and people from execution thinking, well, they're playing field and, you know, but you need mutual respect and to make clear that you both contribute to the future of your organization. You need to understand each other. Okay, this innovation is in a certain stage, so we assess it appropriately. And in the end, you need to do it together, because it's not you search and then you drop it over to execution. You know, you need to co-create already in the search part. So basically, it really takes discipline from people, discipline and trust in each other, and trust in a system. We strongly believe that innovation can be systemized to provide space for creativity. It's kind of paradox, but in our experience, very true. And not give up when you fail. Persevere. Try to love to fail, right? As long as you learn. And that's really the people component about it. It's not something you can buy. Of course, you can buy innovation externally. But the most successful organizations also cultivate innovation by doing and by coaching continuously on the right metrics, on the right behavior. So that's design principle number 2. So people drive the change. They drive the transformation. So you as a leader or as an innovator, fuel the desired behavior by doing my coaching.
Yeah, totally true. And often it sounds really simple, right? Feel fast. You hear all those big big words and people understand it. But when it comes to day-to-day business, it's hard to feel, right? Because we're like raised and also always rewarded on first time right, on efficiency, on doing things fast and in the right way. And also about knowing, right? We are hired as experts.
Right.
We are hired to know,
It's
to know
cool
the
to
truth.
know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I experience in working with a lot of innovation teams that come from the execution side, to say so, from the execution business, is that they find it really hard to not knowing, right? And to say, okay, we don't know, but that's okay, and we start learning.
Right.
So that's really hard for them. And what they then do, for example, for the company you see here, we work in the image of an innovation, is they put a senior leader from this culture of learning and failing. And when he says to the team, hey, it's right to fail. It doesn't have to be right. You don't have to find the truth now, but just take a first step. And then things slowly begin to change and change step by step. And it's really small at the beginning. It's like saying, yes, we're going to do this experiment. It feels really, really uncomfortable to go out to the street and confront our consumers and ask questions about our product. But when they do, I think there is the real transformation happening, right? And so do you have any experiences like that, like a company that manages it in such a way?
Well, one personal anecdotally, and second, actually a company we were helping. So a couple of years ago, I worked in a startup myself, like leading a startup. And it's funny, I just think of it as it's much about behavior, and you're telling like, well, people are always repeating, you should fail fast, and like all these design principles for innovation. So starting the startup was also like, yes, I'm going to read a lot about it, and I'm going to talk to a lot of people about it. And everybody gave me good advice, like properly good advice.
Mm-hmm.
But once I was in that startup myself, I did everything wrong, what they told me not to do wrong. And only then I really realized, oh, so this is it like.
This is what it means.
This is what it means. And these are the consequences.
And why did you do it wrong? What is the reason behind the behavior?
You're led by opportunity. You're in a kind of a roller coaster. You then stop to think. You see this big, like hairy goal that you want to reach, and then you just full throttle try to go there.
So you need to be a bit more patient, right? And to take it step by step and to learn.
Yeah, that, and really stay focused on where you started, why you started. Because we were like, oh yeah, this big company has interest in us. Ooh, let's try to please them. And then losing our customer along the sides. And the second one, and it's really to exemplify also that it's not only for big corporates, but also for municipalities, for governments. So we work for the municipality of Hoorn, it's a medium city in the Netherlands. And they were like, okay, so how can we put design thinking in everything we do, right? And it was an entire journey. So this is a picture, doesn't matter if you can read Dutch or not. This is a picture depicting what kind of behavior they wanted to see from their own people. And it's really new. So a governmental institution that thinks like a designer. Whoa. They tried it, they went on a journey, they learned by doing, and now they installed 5 coaches to coach the entire organization, so not just search, but also execution. What it is to think about the problem and not the solution. What it is to think with the customer and not with the rules. So it was a really inspiring example for me personally as well. Like it's for everybody.
Yeah, clear.
So that was super cool.
Nice to see it is being visualized.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. It's out there in their city hall, like printed also big on the wall. It's nice. Cool. So third design principle, which is about the brain, not the heart, but the brain, because it needs to make sense, and we need to create an environment for success, right? So in another personal experience, in my previous company, I worked at Canon, and big corporation, right? Innovating within that big company at the time felt really like swimming upstream. So they wanted to do something, but the entire organization was designed to do the other thing, to do execution. So I really felt like one of these salmons, which was interesting because it's eventually wasted energy on organizational stuff and not on value creation, right? So we continuously think about how can we systemize innovation and also put the people part, the hard part in it, but also systemize creating an environment for success so you can monitor the bigger picture. And if you have to swim upstream, that you see those bears or managers that gonna eat you, or competitors that gonna eat you. So really creating like the system and the environment around it, like the metrics, the governance, the investment strategy to do innovation right, and to streamline your entire innovation portfolio. So Demian showed this picture about all these value propositions and ideas floating around. You can actually streamline that through portfolio management in innovation, and therefore de-risk any money going out of that bucket, right? And we would like to share one of the tools with you to do so. So again, search and execution. And within the search part, we are systemizing innovation by inserting 4 different phases. That you see the little business model icon. Like the first one, exploration, is about the customer, the right part of the business model. So try to think about the problem we're solving, not about the value proposition itself. What are we doing? Very early stage, very risky, because, well, you don't know yet. Second one, build. You think about the entire value proposition, golden triangle. Are people willing to pay for the solution that we're making? If so, you can grow. You should grow like crazy. Is there a market big enough? Or maybe multiple markets? And only then you start optimizing your system, right, for profitability. And then there's a handover. And as said, in execution, people grow or amplify the business, so cross markets, different customer segments. You sustain your business for as long as possible, big cash cow, hopefully, and in the end, also divest. So there's a point you're disrupted by yourself, hopefully, or not, and then you should divest or repurpose. So the tool looks like this. It's right, a growth curve. You start with 0 customer, 0 value, and you build your way through each and every stage, de-risking your portfolio until you hand over to execution, in which you still have a lot of growth to gain. And in the end, as said, you need to divest and you need to let go of your business model. And the funny thing about, let's focus on the search part. The funny thing about this is it looks kind of easy, right? Everybody, we explain this model to, they're like, yeah, makes sense. It's logical. But if you really try to use it appropriately, is that you take this entire playing field of ideas and business models and everything floating around, and you try to systemize it and plot it in the portfolio. Right, so yes, you have a lot of ideas. What are they worth? Not so much. They're in the explore phase. You need to find an idea, a problem worth solving. But we also have a lot of business models, or some of the business models that are already in growth. Right, we're growing customer base. We're growing that part.
Sorry to interrupt, but this might be a good moment to answer a question that Richard put in the chat, because he says, like, when managing execute, they have like clear KPIs and they know what success looks like, right?
Yeah.
And I see that with a lot of organizations as well. It's like it's really hard to assess your innovations in those early stages. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
or
good.
Tips for Richard?
Good question, Richard. It's one of the main things to get right at each of the gates, especially. And we often see like innovation metrics, like the number of ideas that are created, which we think are vanity metrics, because we don't see a single company that has a lack of ideas. They have a lack of execution of the ideas. So when you see in the exploration phase, they're pretty vague still, the metrics. And at the same time, they're very sharp, because like the dotted line you see at the start of the swoosh. Let's go. This line, it says here, filter for on-strategy ideas. So basically, what it means is there's a vision behind this, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody knows this vision within your company. So all the ideas that you bring into this portfolio are filtered on that. So that's one thing. Then each of these ideas should subsequently adhere to part of this strategy, right? And the strategy hopefully is very specific, very measurable as well. But it's just an idea, right? So we think we can contribute to sustainability goals. We need customer value. We need to prove this customer value. So what can you measure on? You could measure on learnings. You could measure on customer interviews. You could measure on number of people that positively respond to the ideas or value you pose, or even better, to like the problem area you address. They're calling you like, oh, we talked about this problem area. Can you help us? I'm currently solving it like this, but I'm not happy about it. So pretty broad, but you can still make it pretty specific. So you don't pass this gate if you don't have a clear problem to be solved, and you know that by customer engagement, right? And then when you go into the solution space, you really start building. If you target, for instance, some services, you could think about retention, right? So you're still in the experimental phase. So you're keeping it small. You don't roll out to the entire country. But within that small group of people, you prove retention. You could also prove engagement. So what are they engaging with? And are those the things we think are valuable, or is it new for us? And then in growth, you can think about customer lifetime value. You can think about virality. So how fast does it grow? And then once you go further into optimization and then make the leap within the handover to execution, things get more close to your regular KPIs.
Yeah, really. Right. Yeah, and I think an often made mistake is that you assess on revenue too soon.
Way too early.
Too early, yeah.
Yes.
So I like that idea of it's about users, about new users, not users coming back first and then try to make it profitable, and then you can scale the business.
Yeah, because most of the time it's easy to get people buy something from you, even if it's a test. But if they return to buy from you, then it becomes interesting. So using this map can really help you assess an idea or a value proposition or a business model in the right way. So if it's in the build stage, you assess it on build KPIs, etc. So a really useful tool as we are concerned. And then you can map out an entire business model portfolio or your entire organization, but you could also be mapping out a portfolio per value space. So if your strategy or your company has different spaces where they're active, you can make one of those maps per space. So for example, for IKEA within the sustainability, they're really assessing on these three spaces, and they manage their portfolio by it. Of course, there's overlap, but by managing it like this, you can de-risk it systematically. You can invest systematically with small amounts of resources and euros here, leading up to big amounts of euros and these resources here. And the beautiful thing about like this entire map is that you can use it both as a project, as an innovation project, and as a manager of a portfolio, which makes it really strong because you both have the same mental model of what progress looks like, right? You're using the same tools and the same language, so people
so both
really
for the teams as the board or as managers that assess them, the leadership, so that in that way teams also can become more self-steering if they know what success looks like and how the innovation is assessed by leadership, right?
Exactly. So and when in the ultimate form you have teams that say, well, we are in the build phase, but we've invalidated our idea, so we stop because of these reasons. While normally it's like, well, give us all the money we can because it's fun and we want to proceed, right?
Yes.
So really create an innovation blueprint, governance, metrics, investment strategy, required skills and capabilities that fit your organization and enable people to move in the right direction. Number 3.
Yeah.
And that's then the 3 design principles in summary. So really try to have this strong point of view as concrete as possible. It's all about people. People drive the change. And you as a leader, but also people themselves, should create the right environment for those people to thrive and go through the transformation. And it's often depicted as like one straight line, but really it's a lot of separate actions and separate initiatives that all build up to something bigger than themselves. Starting slow, often led by leadership, and then once it's adopted by your coworkers, by the organization, you can move fast into the direction of D. To really try to see it as a movement rather than separate actions or things that don't have to do anything with each other.
Nice. So thank you, Niek. Let's answer some questions from the viewers. Let's take that one of Shira first, and then Fernando, we will answer your question. Because Sharon asks, what do you think is important to create a safe environment to make sure that people love to fail?
Yeah, good question, Shira. One thing that is most of the times overlooked. So of course there's coaching, and there's exemplary behavior, and there's go for it. There's right. One thing is that often overlooked is incentives. So more often than not, we see people are incentivized to book progress, and progress is then measured in euros, in customers, in whatever. If you and your leadership team can incentivize the right things, then that's at least a engine for success. And I hope it also then creates a safe environment to make sure that people love to fail.
Yeah, nice. I was also thinking about the whole concept of failure. Like, what is failure then, right?
Yeah.
Because when they understand that it's about learning and new insights is progress, although maybe your assumptions are invalidated, but you find out things you didn't know that you didn't know, right? Or that you were so convinced that this, it was like this, right? And then you go out there and confront your consumers and they tell you a whole different story, or they say, no, that really isn't that important for me. I really find this important. And those learnings and insights, I think teams might often think that is failure, right? Oh, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
Yeah,
I'm not smart enough.
Exactly.
But actually, that's success because you know more than you did before. And when you do that, we call that fast, scrappy experimentation. And I think really that's the engine in that search area. Success is really doing and learning. And and
I think also having the right leadership in that sense, like talking about vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right. Being open to as a leader, but also as coworkers. Like, I did something wrong. That's one thing. And the other thing is, we did this and we invalidated it, but that's progress.
Yeah.
Right. So humbleness and vulnerability as a culture is really, really beneficial there.
Yeah, nice. By the way, before I forget, but I want in the next edition of BMI Inspires, we will look more into those team dynamics.
Right.
So how to create a trusted context as a team, right? That you really can be vulnerable.
Good collaboration.
And have good collaboration. Hey, Fernando has a different question. He says, what's your advice to entrepreneurs dealing with conservative industries, like the oil, gas, and energy industries,
right?
Which are quite adverse to change? So probably maybe he has a good idea. He needs those established companies as a partner, but they are quite adverse. So how to move forward?
Yeah, it's a good question, a difficult question, Fernando. In a sense that I really believe that transformation or change needs like some sort of urgency to start, right? And that can be a monetary urgency, or it can be an urgency like, there's competitors, but there can also be an urgency that the companies themselves have the big ambition to change. So it can be both negative and positive. So I would say look for that company that experiences that urgency, but either on a negative or a positive side. I think those big companies start to move already. If you look at Shell, for example, you see different initiatives on sustainability, for example. So that's one thing. And second is timing is like really, really important. And sometimes if there's no urgency yet, or the technology is not there yet, or people's behavior are not there yet, right? Then it's just then really, really difficult to get a hold on the market.
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, but I would advise you, Fernando, to keep reaching out to those companies and ask questions about their strategic themes, about maybe also their horizons on innovation, like what they're doing now, but what about 10 years, so that you know more where value for them is created. And so reach out, ask questions, and learn.
And otherwise, don't look beyond the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
Right? So Elon Musk was not in the oil and gas industry, but he's totally disrupting it. So look for partners or companies that can help you disrupt that industry and make that urgency.
Okay, let's move on. Question from Ale. How do you make sure you hire for transformation? You mentioned IKEA, for example, that deliberately hires specific people to make the change happen.
Good question. Really depends what you're transforming into, right? So IKEA is transforming into like this sustainable or climate positive organization. Then you at least know the mindset and the behavior you want from your employees. So there's certain personality traits on that. That's one side of it, and the second is its capabilities and skills. So, are people skilled in circular design? Because that's where it starts, right? So designing products to become circular. So you hire on those skill sets.
Yeah.
So I think there's two sides on that, and it really makes it very explicit that knowing what the transformation is and what B is super important.
And then if you hire them, then you still need to merge like
Yeah.
your old people with new people, and it's very, very interesting. And I think it's also then the notion of like working with people like us, that you do it first, you show how, and you do it together, and at one point it becomes a new way of working, and then the company,
Right.
more and more people in the company adapt it, right?
Yeah.
So also that hiring and change process, yeah, it takes time, I think.
Yeah, and you can make use indeed of external motor first to start things up, to stir things up, and then design your own motor to go to the future.
Hey, how to kill your projects, your darlings, those single best ideas you had, and then you think, not sure if it's such a good idea. And we see that like a lot of innovation teams linger on, or ideas get killed too soon. But
yeah.
Any thoughts there?
I think a lot of thoughts there. First, and maybe very cliche, but love the problems and not the darlings or the solutions. So you really dare to solve a specific problem, and your solution is one maybe option, but there's a lot of others. Second is what we often see, as opposed to killing things too fast, is killing things too late. So things linger on, and you're fighting for commitment, and you keep fighting for resources, and you keep fighting for. Then apparently the timing is not right, and please time box your innovation. And third is be very clear on each gate what you want to see within each innovation portfolio.
I think that's crucial, because then if you can stop an innovation and kill it, because you see we are not having the success criteria we want, that's also success, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because then you know what you can stop, so you can continue with something else.
You save a lot of money by doing that.
And time, yeah, definitely. Let's see. Yeah, Richard says, if you fail fast. Yeah, that's true. So it's all about speed, fast iteration, and doing, and not talking too much. But try to get the proof from the consumer, like you said. First, maybe it's claimed, then you want to move to behavioral evidence, and that way you, I think you build your propositions in business.
And it's sometimes, so sometimes people say like, fail fast, fail cheap. I just want to point out, failing cheap, we think is kind of a relative thing, right? So if you're in fast-moving consumer goods, failing cheap is actually cheap. It's low on money. If you're in like a high-value asset, failing cheap is relative to what you would otherwise be doing, right? Building the entire solution.
Yeah. Like preventing from far worse to happen.
Exactly. So Canon, the big printer, right? It takes millions to develop them, but you can also.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Hey, regarding the time, any final tips or tricks you want to share with the audience?
Regarding transformation, it's really look at your team and the people you have in the transformation, because you will see that some people are adverse to change, some people lag behind, some people are slow, some people are really fast, but you need to move as a system in the end, right? So as a leader, as a manager, take all those systems, those signals with you, because some people that go too slow or don't know where to go, they're just missing some sort of a system, like the brain part, to help them move forward. If people move too fast, they go to a different direction, they need maybe more guidance, maybe more coaching. So please don't neglect those emotions. There will be emotions because change hurts, more often than not, especially for individual people, individual roles. Stay focused on where you want to be, but be respectful to your entire organization and to all your people, because you need them.
Right. Thank you. I hope Niek inspired you with new insights and new ideas. We're going to wrap it up for this edition of BMI Inspires. And to wrap it up, remember that when you transform with a point of view, a shared point of view, and then you can create, and you need to create that shared future together and recalibrate, like Niek mentioned, along the way, because you start with a point of view, but you will learn a lot along the way. So you need to continuously recalibrate, but don't lose sight of that North Star vision you have. And you need to balance your portfolio in both search and execute, right? Where the diminishing execution business models, you can use those assets and you can use the money they still bring to search for new ones. Balance it, be aware of where the gaps are and focus your innovations there, all aligned with your strategy. And remember, it's all a people's business, right? People drive the change. So fuel desired behavior through doing and coaching. Show them the way. Reward desired behavior. Create a trusted environment, an environment of learning and an environment of what you said, vulnerability. And it's okay that you don't know. Maybe even that is the fuel for innovation in that part. And create an innovation blueprint, a structure in your organization, a system, which helps you to organize innovation on different innovation projects, and it enables people to move in the right direction with those projects, and therefore your whole organization as a whole. And it looks like this. So when you do that, we're quite certain that you secure your future success. Persevere, hang on, and you will get there. So sign up for the next BMI Inspires. I already mentioned it. We're going to deep dive into extreme collaboration. So look more into like what makes the difference in high-performing innovation teams regarding to less performing innovation teams. What makes a good team and what makes a team strong. We will interview an expert on team coaching and on team development, and he will share his insights on how to build a winning team. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you are inspired and re-energized to innovate. So thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Hope to see you for the next edition.
Cool.
All right. Bye-bye.